January 19, 2017. The announcement came from the Pentagon like a bolt of lightning, sending shockwaves through the entire global defense industry. After a grueling multi-year competition to find the U.S. Army's new Modular Handgun System, MHS, a winner had been chosen. It was not the heir apparent, Glock, the titan who had conquered the law enforcement world. It was SIG Sauer. Their entry, the P320, had officially been selected to replace the venerable Beretta M9, a pistol that had served as the U.S. military's sidearm for over 3 decades. The king was dead. Long live the king. It is impossible to overstate the magnitude of this victory. This was not just another contract. It was the Super Bowl of the firearms world. A deal worth up to $580 million that would put hundreds of thousands of SIG Sauer pistols, now designated the M17 full-size and M18 compact, into the hands of the most powerful military on Earth. SIG had not just won a contract, they had seized a legacy. The P320 was now set to become the most visible, most prestigious, and most combat-proven handgun of its generation. For SIG Sauer, this was supposed to be the moment of their absolute, unassailable triumph. But even as the champagne corks were popping at SIG Sauer's headquarters, a dark and insidious counter-narrative was beginning to coalesce. On internet forums and in the cubicles of police departments, whispers were turning into worried conversations. Then, the conversations turned into headlines. Dallas Police Department suspends use of P320 over safety concerns. Lawsuit alleges officer injured after holstered P320 discharges without trigger pull. The trickle of bad press soon became a flood. The most damning evidence emerged in the form of viral videos. Firearms bloggers and independent gunsmiths, using a simple rubber mallet or by dropping the pistol from waist height, began demonstrating the terrifying potential flaw. Under a specific set of impact conditions, primarily being dropped at a precise angle on the rear of the slide, some P320s would fire, seemingly on their own. The sight of a supposedly safe handgun discharging a live round, without a finger ever touching the trigger, was a crack in the armor of SIG's newfound invincibility. This created a jarring and deeply confusing paradox. How could this be possible? The P320 had just survived the most exhaustive and brutal testing protocol ever devised by the U.S. military. A trial designed to simulate the absolute worst conditions of a global battlefield. It had been subjected to extreme temperatures, baked in sand, submerged in mud, and had fired tens of thousands of rounds to prove its reliability and safety. And yet here it was, being challenged not by a rival corporation, but by a growing chorus of police officers, federal agents, and civilian owners who claimed this champion of a pistol was harboring a dangerous, potentially fatal secret. The stage was set for one of the most contentious and consequential firearms controversies of the modern era. A battle that would be fought not just on the battlefield, but in courtrooms, in newsrooms, and in the court of public opinion. How could the Army's chosen savior simultaneously be a plaintiff's star witness? Part 2. The Revolution, named FCU. To understand the controversy, one must first understand the revolution. The SIG Sauer P320 did not win the prestigious MHS contract by being a slightly better Glock. It won by fundamentally challenging the very definition of what a handgun is. For nearly a century, a pistol was a monolithic entity. The frame, the polymer or metal housing that you grip, was the gun. It held the internal parts, and it was the component that bore the legal, serialized identity of the firearm. Every other part was just an accessory to this core frame. The P320's design team, led by engineer Adrian Tomalay, inverted this entire concept with a single, breathtakingly elegant innovation: the Fire Control Unit, or FCU. At the heart of every P320 is not a polymer frame, but a small, self-contained stainless steel chassis. This removable module, roughly the size of a deck of cards, is a masterpiece of compact engineering. It contains the entire trigger group, the sear, all internal safety mechanisms, and the slide rails. This FCU, and this unit alone, is the serialized firearm according to United States law. The polymer grip module that surrounds it is, in a legal and functional sense, nothing more than a plastic shell. It is a non-regulated accessory, like the stock on a rifle or the tires on a car. This was not an incremental improvement. It was a paradigm shift in firearms architecture. For the first time, the soul of the gun had been separated from its body. The implications of this design were staggering. It transformed the P320 from a static object into a dynamic, endlessly configurable platform. A user could now buy a single P320, meaning a single FCU, and then build a vast arsenal of different pistols around that one serialized component. By purchasing exchange kits from SIG, which consist of a grip module, a slide, a barrel, and a magazine, the owner could morph their firearm at will. A full-size P320 for home defense or duty use could be converted into an ultra-compact subcompact for deep concealed carry in under a minute, with no tools required. A 9mm pistol could become a .40 S&W or a .357 SIG pistol simply by swapping the components. For the civilian owner, this meant unprecedented versatility from a single firearm purchase. It was this very feature that gave SIG the winning edge in the Modular Handgun System competition. The U.S. Army was not just looking for a new pistol. They were looking for a unified system that could be adapted for different soldiers and different roles, from a full-sized sidearm for an infantryman to a compact pistol for a helicopter pilot or a general officer. The P320's FCU was the ultimate logistical dream. The Army could now issue a single M17 M18 system, and then simply order inexpensive polymer grip modules in different sizes, small, medium, large, to perfectly fit the hands of every soldier, male or female. They could convert a full-size M17 into a compact M18 without needing a new serialized gun. This modularity promised to simplify armorer training, streamline the supply chain, and provide a level of mission-specific adaptability that no competitor with a traditional monolithic frame design could hope to match. It was a system of unprecedented genius, a truly revolutionary concept that had just been crowned the new king of military sidearms. Part 3. The Original Sin, the Drop-Fire Problem. The celebration surrounding the P320's military adoption was short-lived, as the growing whispers of a safety issue erupted into a full-blown crisis in the summer of 2017. The scandal broke not behind the closed doors of a government testing facility, but in the glaring, unforgiving light of the public internet. A firearms-focused media outlet, the Firearm blog, published a video that was as simple as it was damning. It showed a standard, commercially available P320 being dropped from waist height onto a hard surface. When the pistol landed at a specific muzzle-up angle on the rear of its slide, it fired. The video went viral. Soon other YouTubers, gunsmiths, and even the Omaha Police Department replicated the test with the same shocking result. This was not a theoretical vulnerability. It was a demonstrable, repeatable failure that anyone with a P320 and a concrete floor could potentially verify. The drop-safe rating, a fundamental and non-negotiable requirement for any modern service pistol, was now in serious question. The technical cause of this failure was both subtle and, in retrospect, a catastrophic oversight in the original design. It was not, as many assumed, a simple failure of the drop safety or the striker block. The P320's internal safeties were robust. The problem was a matter of basic physics, inertia. The original P320 trigger, along with its connecting bar, had a significant amount of mass. When the pistol was dropped and impacted the ground on the back of its slide, the pistol's frame came to a sudden, violent stop. However, the heavy trigger, obeying Newton's first law of motion, continued its rearward travel for a split second due to its own inertia. This inertial movement was powerful enough to mimic the action of a finger pulling the trigger. It moved the trigger bar, deactivated the internal safeties, and released the striker, causing the pistol to fire. It was not a failure of any single safety component, but rather an inertial bypass of the entire safety system, initiated by the mass of the trigger itself. The gun was, in effect, pulling its own trigger. The public outcry was immediate and intense, placing SIG Sauer in an impossible position. Issuing a full, official recall is a word that strikes terror into any manufacturer. It is a legal admission of a defect, a logistical nightmare involving millions of dollars, and a public relations disaster that can permanently tarnish a product's reputation. Instead of a recall, SIG Sauer announced a Voluntary Upgrade Program on August 8, 2017. While this phrasing was carefully chosen to mitigate legal liability, the effect was the same. They were offering to fix every P320 in circulation, free of charge. The upgrade consisted of several key mechanical changes. The original heavy trigger was replaced with a new, physically lighter, low-mass trigger. This directly addressed the inertia problem. A lighter trigger simply did not have enough mass to continue moving rearward with enough force to fire the gun upon impact. Additionally, they incorporated a new mechanical disconnector into the fire control unit, a secondary safety device that physically prevents the sear from releasing the striker unless it's intentionally reset by the slide cycle. While the upgrade was, by all accounts, mechanically effective at solving the specific drop fire issue, the way it was handled created a deep and lasting rift of distrust. To many consumers and law enforcement agencies, SIG's refusal to use the word recall felt like a corporate evasion, an attempt to downplay a critical safety flaw. For them, the Voluntary Upgrade Program was a tacit admission of the pistol's original sin, and this initial controversy would lay the groundwork for a much larger and more complex legal battle to come. Part 4. The Battlefield. The Army and the Courtroom. As the Voluntary Upgrade Program went into effect, the P320 began to live a strange and conflicted double life. In one reality, it was a story of resounding, unqualified success. The U.S. Army's adoption of the M17 and M18 was followed by a stunning cascade of victories. The U.S. Marine Corps, long devoted to their iconic 1911 platform, selected the M18 as their new service pistol. The Navy, Air Force, and even the Coast Guard followed suit, making the P320 platform the official sidearm for every single branch of the United States Armed Forces, a level of standardization not seen in decades. This widespread military adoption was a monumental vote of confidence, seemingly validating the pistol's core design and safety. On the law enforcement front, major state and local agencies, from the Ohio State Highway Patrol to the Texas Department of Public Safety, signed large contracts, impressed by the weapon's modularity accuracy, and superior ergonomics. In the hands of soldiers, airmen, and police officers, the upgraded P320 was performing admirably. The drop-fire crisis, it seemed, had been successfully cauterized and contained. But in the second, darker reality, the legal battles did not cease. They mutated. A new and far more alarming series of lawsuits began to emerge, this time from police officers and federal agents who claimed their upgraded P320s had fired without command, not after being dropped, but while holstered and untouched. The allegations were chillingly similar. An officer would be standing, walking, or sitting in their vehicle when their holstered sidearm would discharge without warning, often resulting in devastating leg or hip injuries. This new wave of accusations was infinitely more complex and sinister than the drop-fire issue. The original problem was a demonstrable mechanical failure with a clear cause and effect. This new phenomenon was a ghost in the machine, an uncommanded discharge with no obvious external cause. This shifted the battlefield from the internet forum to the federal courtroom. The ensuing legal war became a brutal, high-stakes conflict of expert testimony. SIG Sauer's defense was and remains adamant and mechanically straightforward. The P320 is a completely safe firearm that cannot and will not fire unless the trigger is pulled. Their legal teams and expert engineers argue that the internal safeties, including the striker block and the disconnector, create a physical impossibility for the gun to fire otherwise. They contend that in every one of these incidents, an external influence, a piece of a t-shirt, a drawstring from a jacket, a foreign object in the holster, or an element of the holster itself must have snagged the trigger, causing the discharge. From their perspective, it is a tragic but undeniable case of user or equipment error. The plaintiffs, however, paint a picture of a latent, catastrophic design defect. Their lawyers and experts argue that the issue lies within the complex interaction of the P320's internal components. They allege that it is not necessary for the trigger to be pulled the full, deliberate half-inch rearward to cause a discharge. They claim that a combination of factors, minute vibrations, subtle pressure on the slide or frame, and a phenomenon known as tolerance stacking in the manufacturing process, can create a condition where the sear, the tiny component that holds the powerful striker in place, can release the striker with only minimal or partial trigger movement. The legal battle became a war of high-speed cameras, intricate computer-aided design models, and exhaustive depositions, with each side presenting a compelling but utterly contradictory version of reality. The P320 had become a pistol with two identities: a trusted sidearm for the American warfighter, and Exhibit A in dozens of multi-million-dollar lawsuits alleging it possessed a dangerous and unpredictable secret. Part 5. The verdict: a legacy of genius and doubt. The SIG Sauer P320 is, and will likely forever remain, a weapon of profound contradiction. It is a genuine paradigm shift in firearms design, a celebrated champion chosen by the world's most demanding military, and at the same time an accused villain at the center of a storm of litigation and public distrust. Its legacy is schizophrenic, a story of both brilliant success and haunting suspicion. To pass a final, simple judgment on the P320 is to fundamentally misunderstand the complex and often contradictory truths that define its history. There is no debate about the genius of its core concept. The Fire Control Unit, FCU, is not merely an innovation, it is a revolution. It is a design philosophy that has permanently altered the future of handgun manufacturing, a concept so powerful that competitors are now scrambling to create their own modular systems. From a logistical, military, and user standpoint, the P320's modularity is an unqualified triumph. It succeeded in its mission to provide a single, adaptable system that could meet the needs of an entire fighting force, a feat that had eluded firearms designers for decades. The pistol's battlefield performance, its proven accuracy, and its lauded ergonomics are a testament to the sound engineering that went into the majority of its design. It is also an undeniable fact that the Voluntary Upgrade Program was an effective mechanical solution to the P320's specific, demonstrable original sin. The drop-fire issue was a real and dangerous flaw caused by the inertia of a heavy trigger. And the subsequent fix, a lighter trigger and a new disconnector, was a direct and successful engineering countermeasure. In its post-upgrade configuration, the P320 is, by all credible accounts, completely safe from discharging when dropped. The true, unsettling ambiguity of the P320's legacy lies in the persistent and serious allegations of uncommanded discharges from the holster. This is where the clean lines of engineering give way to the murky complexities of the real world. Is it possible that dozens, if not hundreds, of highly trained law enforcement professionals all made the exact same catastrophic error of allowing something to snag their trigger? It is certainly possible. Is it also possible that there is a yet unproven, intermittent mechanical flaw? A ghost in the machine, born from tolerance stacking, or a complex interaction of internal forces that can cause a discharge under conditions that do not equate to a full, deliberate trigger pull? The sheer volume of similar incident reports from credible sources makes this a difficult possibility to dismiss out of hand. Ultimately, the story of the SIG Sauer P320 is a modern tragedy of genius. It is a cautionary tale of a revolutionary idea that, due to a potential flaw in its initial execution, found its reputation permanently tarnished. Its legacy will be twofold. It will be remembered in armories and military museums as the M17/M18, the pistol that won the great handgun competition of the 21st century. But it will also be remembered in courtrooms and in the collective memory of the gun community as a weapon that forced the entire industry to confront a terrifying question. What happens when the sacred, absolute trust between a user and their firearm is broken? The P320 is a lesson written in steel and polymer that in the world of firearms design, where the stakes are life and death, even a single, momentary lapse in perfection can cast a shadow that lasts forever.